I'm 18 years old, and I built a 700 horsepower Subaru in my driveway. Not in a shop, not with a crew, just me and a couple of friends, and way too many trips to AutoZone. Before I break down the whole build, let me tell you how this all started, because this car wasn't even supposed to make 400 horsepower. How I went from a stock Subaru to chasing 700 horsepower. I bought this car when I was 16 years old, already heavily modified and tuned. It wasn't long before that motor, rod knock, game over. Instead of replacing the engine, I decided to completely strip it down. I ended up learning a lot along the way of how these engines work. While doing it, I was making mistakes, finding the right people, asking the right questions, and I eventually committed to something insane. I decided to go with the out front closed deck V3. The closed deck design on the V3 makes it a monster. It supports the cylinders way better under high boost. At 30 to 35 PSI, an open or semi-closed deck won't cut it. That's when ringlings crack or sleeves shift. These blocks have been pushed to 700, 800, or even close to 4 digits. So I knew it could take the abuse. Alright, so let's talk about my turbo. I'm running the Force Performance Black Turbo, also known as the FP Black. It's a modification for turbocharger's compressor housing that exaggerates the whistle under boost. If you're trying to make 600 to 700 horsepower while still being able to drive your car on the roads, this turbo is absolutely perfect. What I like about the FP Black Turbo is it's big enough to make some serious power, but you don't have to go with a giant rotated setup where the boost only kicks in at 7,000 RPMs. It still hits very hard on the streets and it's perfect for pulls. Okay, let's talk about fueling. Because on Subarus, proper fueling is the difference between 700 horsepower and a blown motor. I'm running 1700 cc injectors. They're huge, but you need them when you have this much air and running E85. They keep your motor safe at high boost without the risk of ever going lean. For the fuel pump, I went with a Hellcat 525. This thing flows like crazy with zero issues. It keeps up with my FP Black Turbo at 30 pounds of boost. It's also one of the most reliable big flow pumps that you can run on a Subaru. I also installed a TurboSmart fuel pressure regulator. This keeps my fuel pressure stable even under hard pulls. When you're running high boost on E85, a pressure drop means a blown motor. So the fuel pressure regulator is basically insurance. And of course, I'm running E85. It burns cooler, it resists knock way better, and it lets me run more boost safely. Honestly, E85 is the only reason my car is alive at 700 horsepower. Days before my dyno, I decided to install a 6-speed transmission. Because remember, my car is a WRX, not an STI. So it came with the fragile 5-speed and not the 6-speed. I had purchased a crashed 2006 STI off the marketplace, just for the transmission. Because the 5-speed was not gonna hold the horsepower I was pushing. I knew the 5-speed wouldn't survive a pull at 700 horsepower. One hard launch and it would have been gone. So I bought a wrecked 2006 STI off a marketplace. It was just sitting in someone's yard. And I was like, yep, I'll take it. We ripped the 5-speed out, put the 6-speed in, days before the dyno. The drive shaft, axles, rear differential, everything had to come out. The entire drivetrain. Before the dyno, I installed equal length headers, stronger spring in my wastegate, and I also installed a Treadstone front mount intercooler kit. I ran into some problems fitting the Treadstone front mount intercooler because it's not meant for stock location turbochargers. So I had to improvise to make it fit my application. So it all boils down to this one day, dyno day. Remember, I bought this car almost 2 years ago. Nothing on this car is the same. The engine, the transmission. I swapped basically the whole interior to STI interior. Everything went perfectly on dyno day. The more pulls my tuner did, I saw the horsepower go up and up and up. Broke 400, broke 500, broke 600. Made 661 at 34.5 pounds of boost. I was so happy. Yeah, I had this car sitting on jack stands for almost a year. And to finally see the last number, 661 on the dyno, I was so excited. I took it home, I was ripping it on the way home, I was driving the back roads, I was showing all my friends. But I missed one crucial step. I forgot to install an aftermarket oil cooler. At this high boost and this temperature, the oil gets cooked. I still had the stock oil cooler that just wraps coolant around the oil filter. Not my brightest idea. So no more than 24 hours later, making 661 horsepower on the dyno, the engine had to come out. I sent the motor back to California and I'm waiting to get it back. I'm waiting to get the engine back right now and I'll put it back together as soon as possible. But I learned a lot, I made some mistakes. It's crazy to think that 2 years ago, I had no idea what I was doing with this car. I went from knowing nothing to building the engine, swapping the transmission, and doing everything that it takes to make 700 horsepower on a Subaru. Obviously, I did other modifications to my car, but it's way too much to fit into one YouTube video. So if you have any questions on my build, feel free to message me on Instagram at K2A_media. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like videos like this of me explaining my builds, let me know with a like and a comment and anything else you want to see from this channel.